Plagiarism, stealing, and heavy inspiration have coexisted with Roblox since its creation. The whole idea for Roblox was taken from both interactive physics, the founder's old game, as well as Legos, so much so that Roblox removed the logos from their bricks, possibly out of fear of being sued. These things can easily be passed off as inspiration, however, one thing Roblox totally ripped was their iconic oof sound. The sound was taken from a free sound pack that Roblox didn't know was ripped from the 2000 video game Messiah, and the theft wasn't settled until way over a decade later. Ever since then, Roblox users have constantly found ways to cheat, steal from, and plagiarize other players in their games, and in today's video, I plan to tackle this issue. In this video, I'll be discussing the history of Roblox and plagiarism, how the community has used it to their advantage, and how Roblox takes little to no action against copiers. Also, yes, this video is partially inspired by HBomberGuy, but the instances are completely different, as well as the motives, the concept being the same. Before we discuss anything, we'll need to define the different levels of plagiarism and/or stealing, which we'll use to rank theft throughout this video. The first level is slight inspiration. If you have a piece of content that slightly derives from another creator, you'll probably notice the similarity if you watch the two. I'm not going to be ranking any case throughout this video this level due to how common it is for Roblox users and content creators to do this. The second level is inspiration, where the creator takes noticeable traits from others' content and implements them into their own, with the similarity being obvious. Level 3 is where you begin to nab aspects from a piece of content, and this is where the controversy begins to kick in. Level 4 is where you blatantly rip from someone else's content to put in your own, stealing on top of plagiarism. Finally, level 5 is where you completely steal someone else's piece of content, aka re-uploading/cloning. Now that this is established, we will use this to rank stealing throughout this video. Anyway, without further ado, let's discuss how plagiarism has become infamous throughout Roblox, allowing users to succeed without trying, and how the community perceives stealing. Jaredvaldez. In the early 2010s, a feature on Roblox existed called copy locking, where you could prevent other users from nabbing the entirety of your game code and assets and publishing it as their own. While many developers made the wise decision to copy lock their games to prevent stealing, some of Roblox's biggest games didn't, leading to some of the biggest cases of theft in Roblox's history. Most of these thefts were carried out by two users, Jaredvaldez and Julius Cole, among many of their accounts. Both would pass off uncopy-locked, tweaked games as their own. Jared scammed players, and the two were banned multiple times for their crimes against Roblox's TOS. Julius has gone on to have a redemption arc, becoming Roblox's most proficient rage baiter and being respected by larger content creators such as Flamingo. However, Jared, as of recently, has been squandering his reputation over petty things and has continued to steal out of Roblox, but we'll talk about the former in another video. You see, his infamy from over a decade ago has cultivated into many videos created about him, and his legacy lives on as Roblox's most hated player. Jared is well aware of his infamy, however, his response to videos criticizing his past has stirred controversy recently. Jared's logic is that if you make a video about him, he's entitled to a cut of the revenue made by the video, a demand that he gave Flamingo after making a video about his Roblox lawsuit. It doesn't take a genius to see why this doesn't add up, but past this, Jared has been blatantly stealing TikToks that talk about his past. Take this video by Razad and Roblox talking about Jared. Jared downloaded this TikTok and has reposted it to his YouTube channel over 9 times in 2 years. This breaks YouTube's policy on reusing content and re-uploading videos, and goes to show that Jared has gone back to stealing. However, knowing him, he'll probably say he altered the videos enough to make them original. Also, I'd like to take a step back from plagiarism, because Jared recently set up a GoFundMe for a lawsuit he wants to file against Roblox with a goal of $50,000. Just recently, Jared shut down the GoFundMe with 51 out of the $50,000 raised. Call me crazy, but I'm sure this money is not going towards a lawsuit, and Jared conned his fans out of $51. Jared and Julius were both arrogant users back in the day who can be excused for their actions because they were children. However, Jared has not learned his lesson, and it's the reason why he's in this video. Jared and Julius get ranked level 4 plagiarism for their stealing and slight modification of these old games. Jared gets level 5 for stealing videos talking about him, plus an additional level 5 for allegedly stealing money from his fans, unless he can use that $51 for a significant lawsuit somehow. Preston. Preston is one of Roblox's biggest developers, famous for founding big games in its many conglomerates, making many of the Roblox games we know and love. Despite the popularity and many successes of Preston, he's been embroiled in controversy for most of his career for reasons such as greed and crashing Roblox with his games as updates. Over a year ago, he was in some hot water after accusing several of Roblox's biggest simulators of plagiarism for apparent ripping of the cube pet's design from Pet Simulator X. Many Roblox simulators, big and small, had their pets cubed, which Preston took as stealing, and as such, sent DMCA takedowns to these games because of their supposed theft. While Preston believed he pioneered the cuboid pet style, it was revealed that Mining Simulator had cubed their pets long before Pet Simulator ever did. On top of this, Pet Simulator X had done some ripping of their own, taking the Lucky Block texture from Bed Wars and Minecraft. This went to show how hypocritical Preston was. After non-stop uproar from the better part of the Roblox community, he went silent and possibly retracted the DMC takedowns to avoid legal trouble. Preston thought that this plagiarism was perhaps level 4, but in reality, it was probably level 2 due to this issue over petty design. It's just cubes after all. Impossible Ladder Climb Obby. In late 2022, popular Roblox game developer Jandel released the game Steep Steps, which went on to amass over 150 million visits. The game was especially popular in early 2023, but since then has experienced a decline in relevancy due to a lack of major updates. While on the outside, Steep Steps seems like your normal game, there's a chance you recognize the layout of the game but aren't familiar with the original game. The reason why is that Steep Steps revolutionized Obby games with the ladder mechanic, a unique concept that was bound to get stolen. In early January, many copies of Steep Steps began to pop up under names such as Impossible Ladder Climb Obby and Ladders Obby Hard. At the height of their popularity, these games had thousands of players, coming close to rivaling the game that inspired it all, which is impressive and surprising. Obviously, this blatant copying was noticed by a large deal of Steep Steps players, and most of these games were heavily disliked, but that never stopped their commercial performance. You may be wondering why these games were so popular and were sometimes able to overshadow Steep Steps' performance, and the reason most likely has to do with design. Steep Steps is, no offense, a boring looking game, but that's what makes it great among older audiences. The subtle, gray scenery and the classical piano in the background all tie together to make raging an ironic experience, as how could you be angry in a game so soothing? This style resonated with the game's audience, who was understandably more mature and understood the feel of the game, which was far too boring for younger players, presumably. Due to this, these ripoffs stepped in to make Steep Steps a more fun, colorful game, which clearly appealed to a younger audience. It wasn't all colorful, as having a game appeal to a younger audience means you can exploit them tremendously, and the Impossible Ladder Climb game was littered with game passes that made it pay to win. Ladders Obby Hard was another ripoff, but this time you could pay to jump, so much for the challenge aspect of the game, which is what obbies are all about. If you thought Impossible Ladder Climb Obby was bad, you could consider this one worse, considering today, it's more popular than the actual Steep Steps in terms of relevance. This isn't that bad considering how successful and popular developer Jandel is outside of Steep Steps, but it's one of the very few instances where I've seen a heavily plagiarized game surpassing the original. I really hope this doesn't set a bad precedent for Roblox developers, but it's Roblox, so whatever hasn't been abused will be abused. I rate this plagiarism level 4 for ripping an entire concept and oversaturating it for profit. Maxxell. Maxxell is a professional Roblox plagiarist, and I'm not joking when I say this. His entire identity on Roblox is re-uploading, recoloring, and retexturing expensive Roblox items, such as Dominuses and Domino Crowns, among other desirable Roblox items for cheap, to the UGC catalog. I believe he's able to do this because there's some sort of legal loophole involved where Roblox doesn't have their designs copyrighted, leading to these designs being allowed without problem. Also, Maxxell started uploading these copies around the time when Roblox was having a moderation purge and copyrighted items were flooding the UGC marketplace. Maxxell was able to get away with this, and thus, an empire built on stealing from Roblox was born. His UGCs were bought many times, and even though this was a gray area for his reputation, Maxxell was respected by his buyers and known as an anti-hero, but not in a bad way. This was until a few months ago in May, when Maxxell attempted to call out Roblox developer Maximum ADHD for, and I'm not joking, copying a Roblox design for a UGC. Roblox had this item called the verified sign, and Maximum took the concept for it and made a sign as a disclaimer for him being verified. Compared to what Maxxell did, this was far more original, and obviously, the community took issue with Maxxell trying to accuse someone of stealing. In response, Maximum ADHD took Maxxell's tweet and made it into a sign, which was called POV Rich Roblox Developer, which you can still buy today. It was very hypocritical, sure, but Maxxell seemed to see the error of his ways and stayed out of drama for a few more months, but would still complain about UGC items being ripped from original designs. Some people may cry for their hypocrisy, but I believe that this is an effective way to solve the problem of UGCs being blatant copies of other items. You ask Roblox if they're going to fix this problem, but they don't, so you abuse and create more of a problem to make it a bigger issue, which gives it more attention to Roblox. Maxxell, however, appeared to not only care about the impact his creations had on Roblox, but also about the money he made, a motivation that derailed his reputation to the extreme. At the end of September, a Roblox UGC creator named Voxelates tweeted that Maxxell had stolen one of his designs after it was removed from the marketplace. Voxel had worked hard to make these designs, spending hours drawing only for Maxxell to rip his items. It was alleged that Maxxell had filed takedowns to get these items taken off the marketplace so he could reign with his stolen ones, but this was never proven. Though it wasn't proven that this was Maxxell's doing, and probably Roblox's, Maxxell carelessly opened his response to the allegation with, "Thanks for free advertising." This would spark an infamous back and forth between the two developers, with Voxel having the upper hand due to how poorly the community thought of Maxxell at this point. Voxelates eventually threatened to take action through DMCAs, to which Maxxell essentially responded, "Do your worst." It appears that the DMCA strikes or something else was effective, as the faces that Maxxell had ripped went off sale soon after. Maxxell did not file takedowns and then steal these items, but he did steal, with him responding saying that he was filling in the void for these kinds of items, and he had Voxel's deleted items on standby, presumably. This excuse was not bought by anyone, and this story would be covered far and wide throughout Roblox, and even KreekCraft would chime in with his take. Maxxell, while not having the respect you'd aspire to one, contributed a lot to helping rip off UGC thrive, and some of you may even own one of his items. However, it was his greed and shameless stealing from another developer that destroyed his reputation. This is level 5 plagiarism, blatant stealing while also seeing nothing wrong with it. Fortnite. Let's move off of Roblox shortly and discuss something now unrelated. Fortnite. For years, it's been known as the biggest battle royale game out there, but tried to expand from this by giving its creators the tools to make games. I think you see where I'm going with this. In March 2023, Fortnite released a game building studio, and games would pour in, some good, some bad, and many copied from Roblox. You might be a bit surprised by this, to which I respond with the many instances of Fortnite copying Roblox for their concept. On Twitter, their logo is strikingly similar to Roblox, their banner and description as well, plus the UI for their game's page is inspired, so the content has to be inspired. Games copied from Roblox included Brookhaven, Doors, and Natural Disaster Survival, with the layouts for these games being very similar to their inspirations. These copies, along with some original successful games, made people believe that this new update by Fortnite would compete with Roblox, although it appears it never dented Roblox's player count. These copies have also died out, proving that they didn't steal their inspiration's audience either. I rate this plagiarism level 4, only because of the amount of effort it takes to rebuild a Roblox game from scratch inside of Fortnite. You could say everyone got creative. Pokemon Brick Bronze. If you were an average American child, you know it was hard to avoid toys and games made by Pokemon and Nintendo. Nintendo has become a staple in at-home entertainment, while Pokemon cards in their respective games have become a staple in the trading card and game industry. I bet most of you own Pokemon cards, and yours truly has some as well. These days, if a game outside of Roblox exists, it will be made into a Roblox game, but back in 2015, reworking an already popular game into Roblox was unheard of. However, developer Orlando 64000 along with his team were hoping to make a change, and together they developed Pokemon Brick Bronze, a Roblox spin-off of various Pokemon games. Upon release, the game became one of Roblox's biggest games, despite it being a clear competitor and rip-off of Pokemon, and a slightly worse one at that. The obvious reason why people played it was because it was free, and Roblox YouTubers like ThinkNoodles would play it often. From 2015 to early 2018, the game would rule over Roblox, being Roblox's most successful game copy popularity and inspiring many Roblox copies of other games, which we'll talk about later. Unfortunately, Nintendo caught on to the success of its stolen counterpart and decided to take action. But unlike today where Nintendo would burn down your home if you're caught infringing on their IP, their action was much more justifiable. The Pokemon Company simply requested that Brick Bronze be taken down, with further legal action being a possibility if the Brick Bronze version group didn't concur. And so on April 18th, 2018, Pokemon Brick Bronze would be taken down, on the cusp of 500 million visits, and one of the most relevant Roblox games ever to be taken down. Users watched in horror as their favorite Roblox game was taken down, but alas, there was nothing they could do about it. While it seemed like all hope was lost, fortunately, Lando and his development team would cook something special from 2018 to 2019, and the previously content-deleted Brick Bronze game would be updated. For starters, the game would be renamed to Lumion Legacy in early 2019, and the description would change to read "Coming Soon." The studio's renamed Twitter account would upload sneak peeks for their upcoming rebrand, introducing characters known as Lumions to the game who look different from standard Pokemon. The game's release date would be revealed on July 15th, and on the 20th, the game would officially be released. The game achieved the same acclaim as if it had never left the platform, as it didn't differ from the Pokemon game format, but tried to be original to avoid any action from Nintendo. Today, the game is still moderately successful, averaging close to 1,000 players and being updated consistently. Some people wonder why Brick Bronze never faced scrutiny for ripping off Pokemon, and I believe the reason is the player base and nostalgia factor. Sure, it was basically your average Pokemon game, but the amount of memories made from the game was enough to make players dismiss the stealing involved. It most likely helped introduce many children to the world of Pokemon had they not had access besides Roblox, and it's favored for that reason. I rate Pokemon Brick Bronze a plagiarism level of 3, as recreating a game takes decent effort, but I give Lumion Legacy level 2 due to the added effort and creativity involved. Let's step away from Roblox developers ripping off Pokemon, because there have been many more instances of Roblox developers stealing other popular games. As I said earlier, if a game outside of Roblox exists, it will be made into a Roblox game, and that's precisely what's happening with any popular game you can think of. I'm not going to bore you with going through all of them, but some of them are scarily popular and have amassed millions of players. However, this isn't the case for some of these games. If you look at some of them, you'll see that they add their own twist and do things to make their game not act as a competitor to the original. I applaud these games, and any games that incorporates any elements of another, in or out of Roblox, will fall anywhere on the plagiarism scale. It's this reason why I'll let you decide the plagiarism ratings these copied and inspired games fall under. Roblox horror game experiences. In March 2023, Roblox group RCM Games published the horror game The Night Shift Experience. The game not only accumulated over 100 million visits, but also inspired a new genre of Roblox horror games, which was great but also consequential to how people viewed Roblox horror. It was released as the popularity of doors began to die down heavily and would become the meta for Roblox horror games, first for good, then for bad. As I mentioned with the Steep Steps clones, Roblox developers are good at ruining good games, and this time, Roblox group Extreme Funds was the culprit behind the decrease in quality. On May 21st, 2023, at the height of the Night Shift Experience's popularity, the group would begin development on both the Watchtower experience and the Police experience on the same day, with subsequent releases allegedly. The games would collectively attract over 20 million visits, even though they could be viewed as repetitive and focus much more on the tasks at hand than the actual horror element. There's a good chance that these games took only a few days to develop, not like they stole any assets from the original game. Fortunately for them, since Extreme Funds' plan from the get-go was to optimize these games to become popular, once they built a template for their games, making them was infinitely easier. And it's not like they were only planning to copy the look of all their games, no, they were planning on copying and pasting their games down to how you played. In a video by the YouTuber Vox going over these lazy copies, many people went over their experiences with these games, with a developer of Police experience giving their insights into the process. The developer explained that the owner of the group, most likely one of these three, didn't care about the quality going in and only cared about monetization, hence why these horror games included microtransactions. These microtransactions are also primarily copied from these other games and further dampen the quality of the horror in them, not that there was much to begin with. Either because of the success of these games or the desire to crank out more because of them, Extreme Funds would go on hiatus for a few months and put out the Hotel experience. The game was another breakout success and showed that these games needed to keep coming doing to maximize profits. Notably, the people playing these games were kids by majority, people who were unaware of the lack of quality and were willing to settle for a lackluster horror game they could beat by utilizing their game passes. I know I talk a lot about how prevalent monetization was in these games, but I'm not exaggerating when I say this is their only motivation. The reason why is that to start September, Extreme Funds began development on 3 games on the same day. The hotel, robber, and hospital experience on the first, and were presumably released shortly after. All 3 experiences released that day performed well, which meant that 4 more game releases would be appropriate for the rest of September, working on 7 games in 1 month. This would continue throughout October, making it appear that production on these games was non-stop. Maybe a bit too consistent. The problem was that the players of these games were starting to see through Extreme Funds' antics, many of whom were fed up with being spoon-fed the same game over and over. This, combined with the exposés made for some low-rated games, the visits were starting to falter, and the money was beginning to dry up. And so, without much of a word to their fans, Extreme Funds stopped publishing games over a year ago, and their developers will most likely live off any further revenue made from its games. Copying aside, this serves as why you should choose to make Roblox games out of passion rather than for money, as the best games on Roblox are made out of passion. The sad part is that RCM Games' developers had to watch as Extreme Funds and a good part of the Roblox community ripped their ideas and made them worse. At least they got the last laugh, as their other experiences are doing well, most likely due to the passion factor playing a large role in their game development. I rate Extreme Funds' copying of Experience Games Level 3. Aspects were nabbed, but the real sin was taking a perfectly good game and ruining it by oversaturating the genre with effortless copies. Copyrighted Roblox UGCs. UGC was released to Roblox on August 15th, 2019, with the goal being to have users upload their creations to the Roblox marketplace, hence the name UGC, User-Generated Creations. As the years went on, Roblox took steps to make getting into the program easier, with the most recent update being that people with certain premium tiers and age can upload their own creations. This hasn't gone over well with about everyone. However, even before this change, problems arose, the big one being copyrighted items being uploaded to the UGC marketplace. Just like how Roblox went more lenient on getting people into the UGC program, they'd also been slacking on their moderation as well. In the summer of 2023, Roblox moderation went completely haywire, allowing for inappropriate and copyrighted items to be uploaded on a frequent basis. Whether it was the faces of celebrities or cartoon mascots, the stuff uploaded could have led to multiple lawsuits against Roblox for copyright infringement. I have to give props to some of the creators for making photorealistic replicas of real faces, but unfortunately, it's not something I can say about the makers of copyrighted items. This is similar to the Maxxell situation, but a bit more creative. The real face replicas get a level 4, and the copyrighted items get a level 5. Decent effort was put into each, though. GamingWithKev LankyBox. Thumbnails are the backbone to the success of a YouTube video. They're the first impression you get of one, and if you didn't know me before this video, my thumbnail played a major role in getting you to click. With all of the data on how to make the best thumbnails and the strategies people employ, it's very hard to know what gets clicks. And if you don't want to spend hundreds of hours in Photoshop learning how to perfect the art of thumbnail making, you can hire someone who already has for a reasonable price. While the latter option has been effective and mainly uncontroversial, Roblox thumbnail designers have been known to skimp out on portions of their work to save time. One of the most effective methods of skimping for these thumbnail designers has been stealing other aspects of thumbnails if the content is basically the same. Enter LankyBox, the Roblox YouTube duo that uploads multiple times per day and employs possibly hundreds of people to help work on their content. Of course, when this much content is produced, there will be inconsistencies, leading to LankyBox's older videos being very raw and their thumbnails being mainly stolen. They, or their designers, heavily rip parts of thumbnails from a wide variety of YouTubers, such as KreekCraft, Vitamin Delicious, and Super Horror Bro. There are many opinions shared over whether this is LankyBox's fault or the fault of their designers, and personally, I think it's LankyBox's fault. LankyBox plays the biggest part in managing people and should have fired the designers, and if they didn't pay their thumbnail designers enough, well, the stealing was expected. Perhaps if they or their managers hired better thumbnail designers for a more expensive price, maybe maybe the problem wouldn't exist in the first place. Anyway, LankyBox received a lot of negative attention due to this scuffle, but ultimately bettered their thumbnails possibly through hiring new thumbnail designers. A similar controversy was actually mirrored by a different YouTuber years before the thumbnail stealing by LankyBox occurred, as Roblox YouTuber GamingWithKev was stealing Roblox thumbnails consistently. Once again, the blame falls on Kev, who most likely didn't moderate his thumbnail designers and likely hired new ones as a result of stealing. If you're a large YouTuber who's watching this video and employs thumbnail designers, make sure to know who you're hiring, or else you'll end up in a controversy you never wanted to get into in the first place. I rate the thumbnail theft level 4 in plagiarism, as blatant ripping is a common theme in all these stolen thumbnails. Not complete ripping though. KreekCraft Clones.
So, in the past couple of weeks, there have been a few more developments added to the story that I haven't really, bothered to cover or put in the script, because I wrote the script a few months ago. If there are any things that you think I missed in this part, feel free to comment about it. And if there are any video ideas you have or anything you want me to include in the video that you feel like would be, cool to include, I'm down. I'm kind of out of video ideas often. So, yeah, thank you for making it this far, and enjoy the rest of the video.
And stop recording. KreekCraft is the biggest Roblox live streamer out there, boasting over 11 million subscribers, and unsurprisingly influencing and inspiring a new genre of Roblox live streamers. Actually, there is some clarification needed when it comes to inspiring. While it depends on the type of person and content creator you are, it's incredibly easy to get influenced by the creators in your niche or creators whose styles you like. I'll admit that I get easily inspired to the point of wanting to rip their content by multiple creators. Turkey Tom, Sunny V2, and Shinzu, just to name a few. However, besides the common issue of copying another creator, it's incredibly important to incorporate your own ideas into your content. If you're looking past the desire for fame and money from content creation, you need to try to not get influenced by the people around you. Imagine if your whole shtick as a content creator was copying and trying to live up to the hype of another creator by shamelessly copying their every move. It's pretty soul-sucking if you think about it. Unfortunately, you don't have to imagine, because there are some creators, one in particular I want to touch on, who copy KreekCraft down to his personality and mannerisms and stream ideas. Gaming with Michael TV is a carbon example of what I'm talking about, or should I say, carbon copy. He's a Roblox YouTuber with well over 30,000 subscribers as of recording this video, achieving such a number by completely copying the biggest Roblox live streamer out there. He started out his YouTube channel uploading normal Roblox content and reaction content revolving around Roblox. Michael got a small audience from this, many of whom were quick to remind him that he looked like Kreek, which is why on September 20th, 2023, he began a channel shift. Michael uploaded a video that day called A Message to KreekCraft, where he challenged KreekCraft to a 1v1 in Arsenal as a result of his fans telling him he looked like the man himself. Unfortunately for Michael, the tweet challenging him in video didn't get Kreek's attention, but it got a lot of views and cemented the start of his journey to becoming a Kreek clone. And so there began the journey of Michael trying to become a replica of Kreek. He replaced the beanie he wore in videos with the one Kreek wore, would wear his flannel, and adapted his mannerisms as well. He claimed he was KreekCraft's secret child at one point, and grew his persona through short streams, with Kreek actually noticing him and following him on Twitter. Not long after, Kreek reacted to him on a live stream, with a collaboration between the two being inevitable due to how obsessed Michael was with the Kreek persona. You may notice something confusing about how Kreek reacted to someone copying his entire persona with no refining whatsoever, and the reason why was because of Michael's size. Compared to Kreek, Michael was a snowflake in terms of audience, and nearly all the fans he did have were people who watched Kreek beforehand. People who mysteriously didn't were quickly redirected to Kreek's online presence in one way or another, so Kreek wasn't losing any audience whatsoever, as Michael served as his effective byproduct. Michael would even upload clips of Kreek to his channel as shorts, and any other shorts content was very obviously inspired by the way Kreek formatted his. At long last, when Michael had around 5,400 subscribers, he got the opportunity of a lifetime when Kreek dedicated a stream to him and the two would face off in Roblox games, streaming together. The stream did wonders for Michael's channel, netting him 2,000 subscribers and a ton of new people who wanted to see what unique content he had to offer. It wasn't the typical bad shoutout that recruited one-time irreverent viewers, as people stayed because Michael's content was almost the same as Kreek's. If Kreek wasn't live, you had Michael to watch. Vice versa if Michael wasn't live. If you didn't have KreekCraft at home, you got Michael. The strategy of copying Kreek worked effectively for a while and still is, with any flack he got for copying was brushed off as banter, with the short streams growing his channel to new heights. Fast forward to September, when Michael had thousands of new viewers flooding in every week, many of whom quickly spotted his uncanny similarities to Kreek and took issue. It got bad enough to the point where Michael uploaded a video to his channel on September 9th called The Truth, presumably to only respond to criticism in a lighthearted manner. Michael, however, tried to go on and claim that he was not trying to be KreekCraft, saying he was his own creation, telling his audience straight up, "I'm not a copy."
About this to where this is, bro, stop copying KreekCraft or stop being KreekCraft copycat. Oh my god, he's copying KreekCraft. I'm not a copy. 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 I'm not a copy.
This is where I take issue. Michael is perfectly fine copying someone's identity as the person he's copying is a-okay with it, but I take issue when he tries to claim he's not copying Kreek. If he really did mean a claim like that, he would have subsequently refined his content and made his own brand, but after this video, not much changed. Michael said in his video that he'd replace the Kreek hat with his very own, but multiple months have gone by and he's either forgotten to replace it or knows and won't. The reason why I speculate on the second option is that I think Michael knows he's nearly nothing without the copying Kreek persona. He's a small enough YouTuber that there is a possibility that he can manage to outgrow the bit, but it's going to be hard, and if he's that easily influenced, who knows who he might end up portraying next. No matter how many short streams he does and how much he grows his audience, he'll most likely go down as that Kreek clone, or even worse, that guy. Michael's audience, primarily children, didn't take issue with his response, but a few Roblox commentators did. PokeDaily is a Roblox live streamer who copies Kreek, but does try to involve his own brand far more than Michael ever does. He is also honest about the fact and not as defensive. Shortly after Michael released his response, Poke made a mini expose on Michael, calling out his copying and debunking Michael's expose stream, which was made close to when he made the truth video. Poke raised many good points in his video, although he had some explaining to do given his copying of Kreek, which was something Michael pointed out in his stream. Poke explained that while yes, he did copy Kreek in a few ways, he was trying to be mostly his own brand, and Michael had no room to talk about someone copying Kreek. Michael's stream made him look even worse than his video did, but Poke's copying of Kreek turned away some viewers, leading to his call out of Michael to have a slightly worse like ratio than usual. The video toppled a domino, though, and a friend of Poke's named Dragon made a separate call out, with the pressure from both audiences essentially forcing Michael to make a new response. Once again, it was him swearing up and down he wasn't copying Kreek but he used to, and him showcasing the lengths he had gone to make his content original. One of these laughable instances is him showing that he had changed up his shorts from Kreek by making his camera be at the bottom instead of the top, like it changed everything. It was essentially more bad points and ad hominems, but this time some people saw through what Michael was saying. In typical fashion, the drama didn't escalate beyond this. KreekCraft picked up on it and made Poke and Michael duke it out in a series of Roblox 1v1s, an unfitting conclusion. Michael also ended up winning, and to this day copies Kreek at newer heights. When Kreek changed the format of his shorts, he did as well. When Kreek added new to his thumbnails, Michael did as well. It would have been fine if Michael had admitted he does copy Kreek, because Kreek would have and has been fine with it for a while now. If he did fess up like this, even the people who made fun of him had to respect him for being honest and real about who he was trying to be. More than anything, this example is a great lesson on why you should try to be yourself when creating content, otherwise you'll end up chained to a demographic as Michael did. Also, plagiarism and stealing are fine if given permission from the creator, not that I could see anyone give permission for someone to steal from them, except in rare cases. I rate Michael's plagiarism a level 4, definitely one of the most unique instances of ripping I've seen so far. Poke is a level 3 or 2. I respect him for trying to move away from the Kreek identity. Plagiarism is a confusing subject, and it's something that I wanted to compile in this video to showcase the good, the bad, the ugly, and the deplorable. I'm not calling anyone to action by making this video, because quite frankly, Roblox won't be taking action against the many plagiarists on their site anytime soon. The best thing you can do in this instance is support original creators, make sure the content you consume is original, and try to be your own creation if you were to develop a piece of content. Thank you guys so much for watching to the end, and I'm assuming if you made it this far, you're rather impressed and may want to subscribe, so subscribe if I deserve it. Let me know if I missed anyone or anything relating to plagiarism in this video, if I should make a certain video, or what you liked or didn't like about it. Thank you once again, and peace out.